Hello everyone, what is happening? I'm your host Eamon Hassan and welcome back to another video here at Most Amazing Top 10. Now I for one would never enter an abandoned house or building. I've watched and learned from way too many horror films that it's never a good idea and it just never bloody ends well. What if I go in there and find a murderous maniac who just camped there waiting for an unsuspecting victim like me? What if I find a dead body? The possibilities are endless and scary and I'm just not here for it. Before we get into it guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel and check out Top 10 Beyond the Screen, our new channel if you haven't already. But without further ado, this is the top 10 scary things found in abandoned places. Starting us off with number 10 is the bathtub. See now, I wouldn't be scared if I just happened upon a bathtub, but sadly the bathtub wasn't empty, and sadly what was inside made me gag at least 3 times. Around a decade ago, a picture circulated on the internet and caused a lot of controversy because the origin of the picture was never properly disclosed by whoever posted it. But this person found an old rusty bathtub full of brains, real human brains, preserved in a sort of yellowy liquid. The brains were definitely preserved because they were grey and firm, and some were also cut in half. It's said the place where it was found used to be an old hospital or something linked to a medical setting. The tub honestly contained probably 50 brains. I counted around 31, and those are just the ones I could see on the surface, not even the ones below. They were probably left there as a super poor storage solution, and they most likely gave whoever found them a bloody heart attack. Coming in at number 9 is the fairy. I wanted to go with either the fairy or Tinkerbell, but anyway, in 2006 a strange laboratory was discovered underneath an abandoned orphanage in London. But what blew everyone's mind was that there were the remains of hundreds of creatures down there, many of which are mythological. The collection had supposedly belonged to Thomas Theodore Merlin, an 18th century cryptozoologist who spent his whole life finding the remains of unusual creatures. The collection can now be found in the Maryland Cryptid Museum, and it contains taxidermied dragons, artifacts from ancient vampire nations, and the infant forms of werewolves. The skeletal picture that came up when I found the story did look like a tiny fairy, but yeah, skeptical as always, and the wings probably belong to a moth of some kind if I'm honest. Some people think the specimens are just works of art that the artist created himself, others say the museum isn't even open to the public. So there is a lot of controversy surrounding this one, but the fact this lab was found in the basement of an abandoned orphanage just gives me the creeps. At number 8 we have the 6th floor. This one happened at the start of 2017 near Pumpwell, India. A group of builders showed up to an abandoned building that was left mid-construction. When they reached the 6th floor of the building, they discovered the corpses of 2 men in their 30s just there. How insane. Imagine you go into work that day none the wiser and then find not 1 but 2 dead bodies. Obviously they immediately called the police and they found out that the 2 had been murdered a few days prior and had been left to rot in the building. The placement of the bodies was very interesting. They almost seemed like they had been petrified, like in Harry Potter. That's actually not a joke. Like their hands and legs looked very out of place, like they were in the middle of something and then froze and then got killed. It's a very strange case for sure. Filling our number 7 slot is Happy Birthday Eric. This story is from Reddit user Never Enough Muppets, who said he had visited an abandoned mansion near his house in Long Island back in 2009. The house seemed to have been furnished in the 60s or 70s, and in one room he found a huge pile of mail dating back to 1995, which is presumably when the house became abandoned. Fair enough, nothing that bad thus far. He entered another room and found a lot of children's toys, except they weren't old, dusty, or broken. They seemed quite new, like they had just been recently bought. Still, he wasn't super suspicious and he forged on to the kitchen. There he found some empty bean cans which looked like they had literally just been eaten, so now he was getting a bit weirded out. He went to the 2nd floor and the floor was so badly damaged he had to be careful where he stood, otherwise he could have just easily fallen through. Inside one bedroom he found hundreds, and I mean hundreds of birthday cards, all addressed to someone called Eric and all seemingly written by the same person. Wow, someone must really like you, Eric. Unbroken still, the user went up to the 3rd floor and heard some noise from a nearby bedroom. He heard a slap and then a dragging sound, and then a very filthy pair of hands appeared from out of the doorway of a bedroom. A man was dragging himself out of the room and groaning while he did it, and you can bet your ass that was the final straw for the user. He ran out of the house and never looked back. Now at number 6 is the petting zoo. In this one, a group of explorers decided to go into an old abandoned petting zoo just for fun, as you do when you're bored. They went through barn barn after barn, but they found something odd in one of them. One of the barns was chock full of dolls, and not just normal dolls, I'm talking naked dolls. Already I have way too many questions. Why did a petting zoo need a bunch of dolls, naked or otherwise? They have no business being in a petting zoo, so it just makes no sense to me, unless someone stored them in there after it had been abandoned, which is a possible explanation. Either way, finding little naked female dolls all over the floor is just not really my cup of tea. Next. Coming in at number 5 is the Pentagram. The West Park Hospital was built back in 1923 as a psychiatric facility in Surrey, England. It was one of 5 hospitals in the area known as Epsom Cluster. By 2003 it had become run down and most of the buildings were closed and the site was completely abandoned. By 2010 most were even demolished save a few, and before it was finally destroyed it was a very popular place for urban explorers. An urban explorer decided to take a look and entered a very old decaying room and found all the facility's fire extinguishers were in this room arranged in the shape of a huge pentagram. Yeah, you heard that right. Now I mean there are 2 possibilities, either some kids were just trying to play a prank and decided to do this, or it was the site of a sinister satanic ritual. What do you guys think? At number 4 is the mummified body. Back in 2014 in the small town of Gilbert, police started getting reports about an abandoned house that seemed to be standing on its last legs. Understandably, the police decided to go check out the house, and when they arrived they realized it wasn't abandoned, it was just neglected. To make matters worse, they found the body of a dead 90-year-old woman completely mummified in her bed, still clutching onto a blanket. Her body had been decaying for more than 4 bloody years. I can't even imagine what the house would have smelt like by then. But that's not even the last twist to this story. The house wasn't empty. The woman's 60-year-old daughter Janet was still living in the house with the body. She found her mother dead in her bed in 2010 but started panicking and worried that the police would think Janet killed her based on the condition of their house. Their house, by the way, was a hoarder house, so I'm surprised they even found the body amongst all the other things. Janet thought she'd get arrested for senior neglect, so she decided not to call the police and just left her mother in her bed, and that's where she'd been since. Filling our number 3 slot is the house. YouTuber Alien6467 posted a video in 2013 of them exploring an abandoned house they had randomly found in New York. They show the inside of the house seemingly empty, but there's graffiti and weird words and letters on the walls in a few of the rooms. One room had the word vengeance very largely written on the wall, which is not even the worst find. The walls in some of the rooms are filled with Ziploc bags stuck to the wall, and every single one has 1 coin inside of it, and some are filled with water and a coin, and they even found bags of singular coins hidden in the floor. These are just so many weird things all in one house, and I just don't understand it. Apparently if you do that with water and a coin it wards off flies or birds, but no one was even living there. When the group finally left the house, the camera focuses on the house, and in one of the upstairs windows someone was moving. On closer inspection it seemed to be a figure wearing a black robe just staring at them. That person was inside the house when they were in there just quietly listening to them, and then what they were doing. I mean, what is happening? I can't make sense of this one. Now at number 2 is the blood trail. Redditor Pacoti said he was once part of a group that gave tours of an abandoned missile silo in Colorado. One day he was taking a group into one of the main rooms and through a broken hatch door. But very quickly he realized something was wrong. There was a pool of blood on the door, and it wasn't dried, it was fresh. Like someone had just broken this hatch very recently and started bleeding because of it. The blood formed a trail, and the group decided to follow it because on a tour you follow the trail of blood instead of ending the tour altogether. The trail led deeper and deeper into the complex, and it led the group into one of the silos. The blood stopped at a railed ledge looking over a 50-foot drop. Blood was all over the ledge and platform, so it was clear that whoever or whatever was bleeding had jumped. The group thought they were after an injured human, but they never ended up finding out what it was. How does anything, especially someone or something already bleeding, survive a 50-foot drop? Unless it was a massive bird and it flew, the thing went straight down to its death and then straight up to heaven. And finally at number 1 is The Thing. Back in 2008, 2 friends entered an abandoned house whilst recording the whole thing. They figured it would be some fun, and there were rumors going around that the house is also haunted, so that's the cherry on top. So they decide to go through the front door with their flashlights, and as soon as they go inside, they see a thing at the end of the room. The creature was definitely human, but it was running on all fours, and it seemed like it had literally been waiting for them to come. The creature starts running towards the boys while making a really weird pig-like sound, and the boys run for their lives. I don't know if the video was fake or not. All I know is that if that was me, I would have tried to see if it was just a deranged person or something else entirely. I mean, who am I kidding? I probably would just run for my life. And guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed and didn't get too freaked out by these, but if you did, let me know which one scared you the most. Also tell me if you guys have ever found anything weird or scary in an abandoned place, although for you guys' sake, I really hope you haven't. As always, I'm your host Ayman Hassan, and I'll see you next time. Bye!